Last week we started Book 4, the Book of Birth and Quest, at the first canto, the birth and childhood of the flame. And we read the first 2 pages, so we'll start now at the top of page 351. Sri Aurobindo was introducing us, building up to the birth of Savitri, by introducing us to the seasons of the Indian year. Briefly about the summer, and then quite a lot about the rainy tide. And now we'll read on from there. Earth's mood now changed. She lay in lulled repose. The hours went by with slow, contented tread. A wide and tranquil air remembered peace. Earth was the comrade of a happy sun. A calmness neared as of the approach of God. A light of musing trance lit soil and sky, and an identity and ecstasy filled meditation's solitary heart. A dream loitered in the dumb mind of space. Time opened its chambers of felicity. An exaltation entered and a hope. An inmost self looked up to a heavenlier height. An inmost thought kindled a hidden flame, and the inner sight adored an unseen sun. 3 thoughtful seasons passed with shining tread, and scanning one by one the pregnant hours, watched for a flame that lurked in luminous depths, the vigil of some mighty birth to come. Autumn led in the glory of her moons, and dreamed in the splendor of her lotus pools. And winter and dew time laid their calm, cool hands on nature's bosom, still in a half sleep, and deepened with hues of lax and mellow ease the tranquil beauty of the waning year. Then spring, an ardent lover, leaped through leaves and caught the earth bride in his eager clasp. His advent was a fire of irised hues. His arms were a circle of the arrival of joy. His voice was a call to the transcendent sphere, whose secret touch upon our mortal lives keeps ever new the thrill that made the world, remolds an ancient sweetness to new shapes, and guards intact, unchanged by death and time, the answer of our hearts to nature's charm, and keeps forever new, yet still the same, the throb that ever wakes to the old delight and beauty and rapture and the joy to live. His coming brought the magic and the spell. At his touch, life's tired heart grew glad and young. He made joy a willing prisoner in her breast. His grasp was a young god's upon earth's limbs. Changed by the passion of his divine outbreak, he made her body beautiful with his kiss. So we'll start this side, Rosa.
Yes. First mood now changed. She lay
Lulled.
Like ripples, their house went by which slow, contented tread. A white and tranquil air remembered place.
Peace.
Earth was their comrade of a happy sun.
Yes. So after all that revolution and turmoil and storm of the rainy season, when it's over, the earth seems at rest. Earth's mood now changed. The earth lies there in a restful state, lulled repose. Lulling is what a mother does with her child. She sings a lullaby, she rocks him, she makes him feel peaceful and at rest. So the earth is like that. All that turmoil is over, and there's something peaceful even about the passage of time. The hours went by with slow, contented tread. Contented is when you feel happy and satisfied and at peace. No? And the air also is peaceful, a wide and tranquil air, when things are very smooth and quiet, tranquil. The air remembered peace. It had been so disturbed, but now it remembers that peace. So this relationship of earth and sun becomes one of comradeship, of friendship. Earth was the comrade of a happy sun. The sun is not too hot. No, it is a pleasant time. Beyond, yes?
A calmness neared as of the approach of God. A light of musing trance lit soil and sky, and an identity and ecstasy filled meditation's solitary heart.
So in this passage, these first lines that we read up to line 85 now, he's not speaking specifically about one season. He's speaking about that calm, quiet time after the rains, when there's autumn and winter and this early spring called dew time. The rain time is the time when the tired earth gets fertilized again and new life is prepared. No? And now he speaks of these seasons as a time of waiting, of expectation. There's this calmness coming near. It's as if God is coming nearer. And on the ground, the soil and the sky, there's a special light, a very peaceful kind of light, which is almost meditative, a light of musing trance. In the old Indian tradition, the seasons of the year had different significances for the spiritual life. You know? And I think this time, the time after the rains, when things are peaceful and quiet, this is a time for meditation and religious practices and these kind of things. No? So something of that he is evoking. And he says those who were meditating, they felt some great closeness, an identity, a oneness, and an ecstasy, an intense bliss. This special feeling coming in to the solitary heart of meditation. Francesca, will you read?
A dream loitered in the damp mind of space. Time opened its chambers of felicity. An exaltation entered and a hope. An inmost self looked up to a heavenlier height. An inmost thought kindled a hidden flame. And the inner side adored an unseen sun.
So something is going on within. He's going to describe the seasons and their outer characteristics. But through all these three seasons, there's this expectation is happening. Yeah, a dream is coming slowly. When you loiter, it means you take your time. You're not in a hurry. No? That dream is approaching there in the dumb mind of space. Something is coming nearer to the earth. And time opens its chambers of felicity, as if it opens up its doors to happiness. And through those doors, an exaltation, a kind of feeling of aspiration and longing for higher consciousness, and a hope. On the inner levels, an inmost self, the very deepest self within, looks up to a heavenlier height, above the normal height, closer to heaven. An inmost thought kindled a hidden flame. To kindle means to get a fire going, to start a fire. You start with little bits of shavings and some paper, and then you breathe on it, you get it going. This is an inner flame, a hidden flame, a flame of aspiration and hope. And the inner sight adored, it worships an unseen sun. There's some divine light and power and energy there. It's not yet seen, but the inner sight is worshipping it calling it to come. Ganga Lakshmi, you'd like to read?
3 thoughtful seasons pass with shiny tree, and scanning one by one the pregnant hours, watch for a flame that lurk in luminous deeps, the vigil of some mighty birth to come.
So these 3 thoughtful seasons after the rain time, they pass by with shining tread. There's light in them. And those seasons, it's as if the seasons are watching for something. They are watching every hour, and the hours are pregnant. What they are waiting for is a new birth. They are watching for this flame that's hiding there in these inner depths that are full of light. A vigil is when you stay awake, waiting for some special event. So this is a vigil. The hours are watchful because they don't want to miss that event when it comes. This wonderful birth that is to come. So it's as if the whole earth in its own way, or the whole universe, is expecting this new birth that's going to happen on earth. It hasn't happened yet, but it's coming nearer and nearer. Until
autumn led in the glory of a moon and dreamed in the splendor of a lotus pools, and winter and due time laid their calm, cool hands on nature's bosom, still in a half sleep, and deepened with hues of lax and mellow ease the tranquil beauty of the waning year.
waning.
Year.
So these are the 3 seasons, autumn. And autumn leads in the glory of her moons. The autumn moons are the most beautiful moons of the year in any country, I think, at any time. No, and, especially the October moon, I think, is often very, very special. No, and the skies are clear. There aren't clouds. We see these wonderful moons. And the other thing that comes in autumn is the blossoming of the lotuses in the pools all around. So the season of autumn is dreaming in the splendor of her lotus pools, full of beautiful blooms. And then winter, and the next 2 months, the dew time after the winter, laid their calm, cool hands. So they are quiet, cool season months. No? They lay these calm, cool hands on nature's bosom. The nature is still in a half sleep. She's in this lulled repose after the passing of the storms and the rains. No? So they bring their special colors, their hues, their colors, he says, of lax and mellow ease. Ease is when there's no pressure, when you are relaxed. No? And these special colors of towards the end of the year, the trees, the leaves take on special colors, gold and red and so on, brownish. And it's a time when things are mellow, they're soft and mature. There's nothing violent or startling about this time. Smooth and ripe and easy. So this is all the tranquil beauty, the peaceful beauty of the waning year, the year as it comes to its end. And of course, traditionally, the year comes to its end in April, no? The new year starts, yes, March, April. And the year is waning. This is a word that we use about the moon. The moon starts very small and it gets bigger. This is waxing, it grows. To grow can be said to wax, and then it becomes full moon, and then gradually it becomes less and less. This is waning. The moon is waning. So the year has reached its fullness, and now it's becoming less and less. It's going to end soon, but it ends in this very, very peaceful way. Joel.
Then spring, a hardened lover, leaped through leaves and caught the earth bride in his eager clasp. His advent was a fire of irised hues. His arms were a circle of the arrival of joy.
So here at last comes the spring. And of course the spring is the time of fresh love. He's an ardent, passionate lover. Here he is, he leaps through leaves, he suddenly appears and clasps the whole earth in his arms. And when he comes, his advent, his coming, brings all these wonderful colors, all the bright colors of spring. And this clasp, his arms, were a circle of the arrival of joy, of delight. You'll read, Gunsun?
His voice was a call to the transcendence sphere, whose secret touch upon our mortal lives keeps ever new the sphere that made the world. We mold on ancient sweetness to new spheres, and guards intact, unchanged by death and time. The answer of our hearts to nature's charm, and keeps forever new, yet still the same. The throat that ever waits to the old delight, and beauty and rapture, and the joy to live.
Thank you. So, spring is like a summons, and it's a summons to the very highest sphere, the sphere that's beyond manifestation. And that, of course, that sphere is also penetrating all this. The transcendent is everywhere. But although we are focused outwards, with the spring, with the new life, the new beginnings, there's a secret touch from that eternal, limitless, infinite sphere, touches our mortal lives. And it's that touch from the ever young, ever new transcendent that keeps ever new the thrill that made the world, that creative delight in newness, no? And that secret touch upon our mortal lives, it remolds, it shapes again an ancient sweetness, a timeless sweetness that has always been there, but it gives it new shapes. And it keeps for us intact, unspoiled, undamaged, unchanged by death and time, the response, the answer of our hearts to nature's charm, the delight of nature. It's especially in the springtime. And it keeps forever new, yet still the same. It's the same response, that throb, that heartbeat that wakes up to the old delight, that wakes up and responds to beauty and rapture, delight, and the joy to live. All that may seem as if it's fallen asleep during the winter, but then the spring comes and everything wakes up again. And that is not only in nature, it's also in our human hearts. We experience that kind of waking up as well. Mahalingam.
His coming brought the magic and the spring. At his touch, life's tired heart grew glad and young. He made joy a willing prisoner in her breast.
Yes, so it's the coming of spring that brings that magic, that enchantment. And life might have been tired, the year is coming to an end, so many things have happened, no? But now the newness starts again. Life's tired heart grew glad and young. And he makes joy wake up, a willing prisoner in the breast of life. Renana.
As perhaps was young gods upon earth, is changed by the presence of
Passion.
of his divine outbreath. He made her body beautiful with his kiss.
So when this season comes on the earth, no, it's like a young God coming and filling her with his own passion, his own intense feelings. And by the outbreak, this divine outbreak, breaking out of spring, the whole body of earth becomes beautiful. When he embraces her, when he kisses her, then the earth falls in love and becomes very, very beautiful. Martin.
Impatient for felicity he came, high floating with the coil's happy voice, his peacock turban trailing on the tree. His breath was a warm summons to delight. The dense, voluptuous azure was his gait.
So he came impatient for felicity. He wants happiness. He wants delight. No? And that impatience of his gets expressed in so many things. The voice of the coil, it's a bird. And that bird represents here in India the voice of love. In Europe we would say the nightingale. I don't know what it would be in Asia, what is the bird that represents that. So that's one expression of the spirit of spring. Another is the peacock's beautiful tail. No? He displays it and shows it. And the air becomes warm and soft, something lovely. His breath, the spring breezes, a warm summons to delight, as if the air has become like champagne or something. And the sky becomes more blue, the dense, voluptuous azure. Azure is a beautiful word for blue, and this blue is intense and dense, and it's got some voluptuous, it means delighting in the senses, delighting in the pleasure of the senses. So it's a wonderful, enjoyable blue. Would you like to read, dear? Yes, please.
A soft celestial earth surprised the blood, rich with the instant of God's sensuous joys. Vivo in the beauty, a Guidance was abroad. Instant on the rapture, thrill in life. Immortal moments touch the fleeting powers.
So, in our bodies, the blood circulating suddenly feels something new and heavenly. A soft, celestial urge surprised the blood. We don't know where it's come from, this lovely feeling that's rich with the instinct, our body's instinctive search for the joys that the senses give. The sense of touch and taste and hearing, all the sensuous joys, the joys of the senses. And he says it's like a music was there, something revealed in all this beauty of the spring, a cadence, a melody was spreading there in the atmosphere. And that cadence, what that music is insisting on, repeating, is the rapture thrill in life. That fresh, young delight. And there's a touching of immortal movements. As if the hours are fleeting, they're passing quickly, and yet there's something eternal, immortal, something deathless about them. Patricia.
A godlike, packed intensity of sense made it a passionate pleasure even to breathe. All sights and voices wove a single charm. The life of the enchanted globe became a storm of sweetness and of light and song, a revel of color and of ecstasy, a hymn of rays, a litany of cries. A strain of choral, priestly music sang and swung on the swaying censer of the trees. A sacrifice of perfume filled the hours.
So it's as if the whole globe, it seems like the whole globe is enchanted with this spell of spring. The whole life of the earth became a storm of sweetness and of light and song. A revel. A revel is when you are enjoying yourself. No? Everybody's enjoying themselves. A revel of color and of ecstasy. But there's also something sacred about it. A hymn of rays. It's a sacred song. These rays are the rays of light. They are expressing something sacred. A litany. A litany is another kind of sacred song that is used in the church ceremonies. But it's all the cries of the animals and the birds. They are all singing this sacred song. And so all this is like a chorus of priestly music, the music that invokes the divine, all these wonderful sounds that come with the spring. And also, when we have a sacred ceremony, there will be the incense, the perfume. And they have a special vessel for holding the burning perfume, and then they swing it from side to side. That's called a censer. It's the vessel that diffuses the perfume. He says the trees are that censer. They are spreading that perfume everywhere. That's a sacrifice, an offering of perfume, filling all the hours. Bärbel.
As Ahsoka's
breeze of an unstained desire. White jasmines under
the enamored air. Yeah.
emerald air. Pale mango blossoms in the liquid voice of the love-maiden coil, and the brown bee muddled in fragrance hits a honeybox.
So these are the things that we see, the beautiful sights. Asokas, these are flowers that grow on a tree, brilliant red flowers. They the name means no grief, Asoka. So they are burning in crimson spots of flame. And then there are the jasmines. Jasmine represents purity. No? He says it's pure like the breath of an unstained desire, some desire in which there's no impurity at all. White jasmines, that wonderful jasmine fragrance is haunting. The enamored air, the air is in love. Enamored means in love with that lovely perfume. And then there are the pale mango blossoms. You know how they come? They're very, very pale yellow. And the coil, Antim was just saying, that it likes to eat those flowers. So they feed the voice, the liquid voice of that bird who is singing his love song. The love-maddened coil, over and over again, he sings his song. And there are the bees. That's another typical sound of the spring, is the brown bee muttering, making his buzzing, quiet buzzing in the fragrance among these buds of all these flowers that are giving their honey. So what a beautiful picture of the spring. Shamala, you read the last two lines, please.
And the sunlight was a great God's golden smile. All nature was at beauty's festival.
So it's like a great festival of beauty in the spring, and blessing it is this smile of the sun smiling down with his blessings, his benedictions.
In this high signal moment of the gods, answering earth's yearning and the cry for bliss, the greatness from our other countries came.
So Sri Aurobindo says this springtime, when everything was at beauty's festival and the sun is blessing, in this high signal, significant, important moment of the gods, in us as an answer to the yearning, the longing of the earth for bliss, for ananda, a greatness from our other countries came. This means Savitri came down and was born, took a body. So we'll stop there for today. So let's read these lines together from the top of page 351. Earth's mood now changed. She lay in lulled repose. The hours went by with slow, contented tread. A wide and tranquil air remembered peace. Earth was the comrade of a happy sun. A calmness neared as of the approach of God. A light of musing trance lit soil and sky, and an identity and ecstasy filled meditation's solitary heart. A dream loitered in the dumb mind of space. Time opened its chambers of felicity. An exaltation entered and a hope. An inmost self looked up to a heavenlier height. An inmost thought kindled a hidden flame, and the inner sight adored an unseen sun. 3 thoughtful seasons passed with shining tread, and scanning one by one the pregnant hours, watched for a flame that lurked in luminous depths, the vigil of some mighty birth to come. Autumn led in the glory of her moons, and dreamed in the splendor of her lotus pools. And winter and dew time laid their calm, cool hands on nature's bosom, still in a half-sleep, and deepened with hues of lax and mellow ease the tranquil beauty of the waning year. Then spring, an ardent lover, leaped through leaves and caught the earth bride in his eager clasp. His advent was a fire of irised hues. His arms were a circle of the arrival of joy. His voice was a call to the transcendent sphere, whose secret touch upon our mortal lives keeps ever new the thrill that made the world, remolds an ancient sweetness to new shapes, and guards intact, unchanged by death and time, the answer of our hearts to nature's charm, and keeps forever new, yet still the same, the throb that ever wakes to the old delight, and beauty and rapture, and the joy to live. His coming brought the magic and the spell. At his touch, life's tired heart grew glad and young. He made joy a willing prisoner in her breast. His grasp was a young god's upon earth's limbs. Changed by the passion of his divine outbreak, he made her body beautiful with his kiss. Impatient for felicity he came, high fluting with the coil's happy voice, his peacock turban trailing on the trees. His breath was a warm summons to delight. The dense, voluptuous azure was his gaze. A soft celestial urge surprised the blood, rich with the instinct of God's sensuous joys. Revealed in beauty, a cadence was abroad, insistent on the rapture thrill in life. Immortal movements touched the fleeting hours. A godlike packed intensity of sense made it a passionate pleasure even to breathe. All sights and voices wove a single charm. The life of the enchanted globe became a storm of sweetness and of light and song, a revel of colour and of ecstasy, a hymn of rays, a litany of cries. A strain of choral priestly music sang, and swung on the swaying censer of the trees, a sacrifice of perfume filled the hours. Asokas burned in crimson spots of flame, pure like the breath of an unstained desire. White jasmines haunted the enamoured air. Pale mango blossoms fed the liquid voice of the love-maddened coil, and the brown bee muttered in fragrance mid the honey buds. The sunlight was a great god's golden smile. All nature was at beauty's festival. In this high signal moment of the gods, answering earth's yearning and her cry for bliss, a greatness from our other countries came.